very much, Dr. Rahma, for giving me this opportunity to present about this important topics, which is IELTS exam. So as you are all aware that IELTS now is being required in most universities, and even there for some jobs in recruitment, it is being recommended and required by some institutions. So today I'm going to focus on 2 points here. So let's see the PowerPoint. Yes, so here we are. So I'm going to focus on 2 points. First of all, IELTS components, and the second one is some tips that might help the candidate to answer IELTS questions. So for those who have taken the exam before, for sure that they know the components of IELTS exams, but this might help more the candidates who haven't yet applied for the exam. And for the second point, of course, it's important. I mean, if you look at the exam, we consider it as something challenging, yes, especially the reading parts. When you see the text, the message that the candidates have, they might be shocked how to answer these questions and how to read this text. However, with some techniques, some strategies, the candidate might be able to answer those questions. So let's see what we have got here. So IELTS exam, what is an IELTS exam? Of course, this is an acronym. So IELTS is acronym that stands for International English Language Testing System. So this is the acronym of these 5 words. And this exam assesses the English language proficiency of people who want to study or work where English is used as a language of communication. So as I said earlier, I mean, now universities and some institutions request IELTS. They ask the candidate, the employer, for IELTS exam. Why is this? Because they want to know the language proficiency of this person. Is he able to use the English language in the workplace or in the university where he or she studies or not? So internationally, I mean, they use IELTS exam to know the level of the language proficiency of the person, whether he is a student or an employee. And of course, there are some standards, some bands that are used in these exams to show the accurate level of that person. And we are going to see that next. So here we have the IELTS scores and interpretations. So overall, there are 9 bands in IELTS exam. And the score that you get, the total score that the candidate gets, describes his level, his language proficiency level. For example, if you get, let's say, 5, so this is the description.
Mr. Khalid, I don't want to interrupt you. Sorry for this. Could you just click on the cup, you know, where you could present it in a bigger size?
Yeah, okay, fine.
The glass picture, sorry for that.
This one,
Thank you.
Right, okay, and so
yes.
Okay. So for example, here, if you get IELTS band 5, so this is the description of your language proficiency. Yes. For example, in some universities, they ask the students to get 5. It means so he has partial commands of the language, coping with over meanings, etc. So this is the description of that level of the students. And in some cases, mostly here we have in Oman, the Ministry of Education require 6. So this is the description of the students who get 6. Some of the students are able to get 7. So if they get 7, so this is their language proficiency level, or a description of language proficiency level. However, here I'm talking about the total, the overall band. But there are also 4 skills, and each skill has also 9 bands, and you might get 5 or 6, again, based on what? Based on your language proficiency, on your level in English language, in reading, in listening, speaking, and also in writings. But this is total, for the total score. All of the 4 skills are, they are grouped together, then divided by 4, then you will get the total band. Right. And of course, in order to score high or to get a good score in IELTS, it's not something that can be obtained by coincidence. Some students, well, actually, from my contact with the students who come and register for IELTS exam, they will say, just we want to try. We want to try in order to see, our level in IELTS exam. This is good. However, if you do some strategies, some ways, you might score higher than doing the exam only just by chance or just by only practicing. So what are the best ways to score high in IELTS exam? Here we have the first one is improving the English language level. So if the candidate does not have a good English language level, so for sure he will get low band. He will score low in IELTS exam. So the basic things to do is to improve your English language level in the 4 skills, in listening, reading, writing, and speaking. The second way is to get familiar with the exam structure. Of course, if you look at models, look at examples of IELTS exam, so for sure that in the exam you will perform better than if you just go and sit for the exam without looking at the format before. And another way is to learn some techniques that might help you to answer IELTS exam questions. And there are some techniques. Today we will focus on these techniques. And the last thing is by practicing. This is, the best advice to score high in IELTS exam is to practice. So how are you going to score high in listening is by listening. And the same for other skills. For writing, you need to write. Without doing this, don't be, shocked if the results would be low because of the lack of practice. So these are some of the ways that I see would help the candidate to score high or to get the desired score. Now we move to the sections of IELTS exam. So the first section in IELTS exam is listening. Usually they start, the examiners, the IELTS examiners start this exam at 9 o'clock in the mornings, and it will last for 30 minutes. Yes, before playing the recordings, the examiners distribute the question papers, and this question paper has 4 sections. Each section consists of 10 questions. So in total, making 40 questions in the listening exam. In the listening parts, there are 40 questions. And however, these questions are not, played, you are not requested to answer them all together. No. They are divided. This is something good about the listening exam. The questions are divided into parts. They will tell you now we are in section 1. Read questions 1 to 5. So they give you 30 seconds to read the questions from 1 to 5. And during these 30 seconds, you need to just focus on those questions from 1 to 5. Don't look at 6 until 10 and the other pages. No, just keep focusing on those 5 questions. And then they will play the recordings only once, one time. During that time, you need to write down the answers. So the recording is only played once. There is no second time to listen. So you have to get the answer from the first time. The questions here, I said 40 questions. So usually the questions get harder if you move forward. So if you move to the second sections, the third sections, and the last section, the questions are harder than in section 1 and section 2. And there are 10 minutes. So in this section, the listening sections, there are 10 minutes given at the end to transfer the answers. There is an answer sheet there. And there are 10 minutes given at the end. So after the 30 minutes, they will tell you that you have now 10 minutes to transfer answers. Usually, and it is better to write the answers in the question paper. And then at the end, you transfer the answers. Here we have types of questions. So when we look at the listening part, we have these types of questions. Gap filling. So there is a gap and you are asked to write the answers. They will tell you write 3 or not more than 2 words or 3 words or a number. So you need to be careful with these instructions. Don't exceed the words. Short answers, sometimes there are WH questions. You need to write short answers, multiple choice, matching, and in some cases there is a list and you need to pick from the list. And also they include a map of some places like a park, museum, etc. And they will ask you to label this map to see what is A, what is B, what is C, etc. And also there is a summary completion. This is usually, the summary is in the last section. So there is a summary about a certain things, and you need to complete the summary using 1 word or 2 words. Instead of summary, they might include tables. So for example, in IELTS exam, they might have some information about animals. So the speaker will mention some categories of animals like danger types, etc., and they will ask you to complete this in a table. So generally, these are types of questions in the IELTS section. Here we have some tips that will help you to listen or to answer the listening questions. This is, as you can see here, we have, this is section 1. This is an example. I have taken this from one of the IELTS exam. So as you can see here, there are 10 questions, yes? So the speaker will tell you that now you need to go to section 1, read questions 1 to 4 or 1 to 6. Because as I told you before, they divide the sections or the questions into 2 sections, except the last one. So they tell you that now focus on questions 1 to 6 or 1 to 4. So in that time, you just need to focus only on those questions. Don't look at 7, 8, 9, and 10. No, just look at from 1 to 6. and make use of the 30 seconds. How do you make use of these 30 seconds? You need to underline the keywords and try to predict the answer. So here, for example, number one, type of work. You need just to focus on type. And type of what? Type of work. Then when you listen, you just focus on this only. And some other keywords like here, nearest bus stop. So you need to listen carefully to the bus stop and the nearest one. Where is the location of the nearest one? So you need to pay attention to the next to. Next to what? Is it next to a station, next to a shop, a library, etc.? So you need to listen to what? To a place here. So you need to underline the keywords and try to predict. Here we can predict. We need to predict a place. Yes. And in this one, we have what? We have here amount of money. So we have to hear or listen to a number. So this is the way of prediction. And you need also to see how many words or numbers you need to write. They say here that no more than 3 words or a number. So don't exceed this number. And listen for important information like names, dates, places, and numbers, because you need them to fill in the gaps. Another way here is to listen carefully and focus on what is required. The main thing is when you start listening until finish, don't distract your attention. Otherwise, some people get distracted. They think of something else. So that, of course, will make you to lose or to miss some information. And of course, in listening, the questions are following each other's. So you might miss something. So it's better to stay focused only on the listening. Don't be busy with any other things. You can use the grammar. So you can use grammar to help you know the required word. Is it a noun, a verb, adjective, etc.? So if you look at the gaps here in for example, here maybe number 3, it is what? It's noun. So here I have to pick a noun. I have to listen to a noun, not a verb or adjective or adverb, etc. So here we have some tips. Another question that you might see in IELTS exam is map. So here is a map of a park. So this is a park. What are you going to do with this one? You will listen to description of this park. Yes. And here, if you look at the words below the map, 17, 18, 19, and 20, there are some places here. These are places. Birds, hide, dog walking area, etc. Yes. So you need to match. And as you can see here, we have A, B, C until I. So which one is bird hide? Which one is dog walking area? Which one is that? This is, you can get it from the speakers. He will mention or she will mention this. But how would you answer this? You need to make use of some expressions here. So he will mention something, some phrases or expressions like in the middle or on the right corners, above, next to, after the conjunction. So they will use these expressions, and these expressions will help you to answer. And also, they usually start with what? They usually start with the entrance. So the entrance could be either from the west gate or the east gate. So when he started from this, he will follow, a direction. So he will go somewhere here, and then he will mention something. He will say that there will be a circle here, and in the middle of the circle, all roundabout, there is something, and he will mention the name. If the name here in the circle or roundabout is one of these options, so you just write it. So F. And you do the same for the others. and you need to make use of the clues available. Here we have clues in the map. We have refreshment, and we have lake, and we have here this roundabout or circle. So anything that is close to, nearby, etc., he will mention them, then you will be able to tell whether it is any of these options. And for example, here we have I, refreshments, refreshment. So what is after the refreshment? If he mentioned this refreshment, so for sure that next to the refreshments, to the right side, there is something. So that is I. If he mentioned any of these, so we can consider it as I. And another tip, of course, you will miss something in listenings, but of course, if you miss something, don't try to recall. Don't try to remember what has he said or she said. Otherwise, you will miss more information. So better to skip the missing one and move to the next one. So that is about the mapping. And here we have something about the matching. So the best way to do the multiple choice is to underline the keywords. Underline the keywords in the multiple choice, in the question and in the options given. You can rephrase the questions. You can use L1. Some candidates might use the Arabic one in order to keep them focusing on what is required in the question. And you can also read the headings. This is usually in section 4, the hardest section. There are some headings like advantages, disadvantages, or causes and effects. So these headings will help you to focus on, or to keep you focused. Like if he just discussing the causes, so yes, now I know that he is discussing the causes because he will mention. Now we will move to the causes of pollution and then results of the pollution. So these headings will help you to know the focus of the listening. And look at the layout of the task. The speaker usually follows the same order, starting from the introduction until to the end. So that is about the listening section. Yes, Dr. Rahma, what do you think? So should we move on or listen to the question, or should we postpone the question to the end?
Yes, Mr. Khalid, I believe we should move on and we can postpone the questions towards the end.
All right.
Continue.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, fine. So now we move to the reading section. So this is the second section. After finishing the listening one, they distribute the question paper that has 3 passages, and these passages are of almost 1,500 words in each. So it's a long passage, and each one consists of 13 or 14 questions. The total number of all these 3 sections, 40 questions. And the topics, of course, different. They are taken from different magazines, from different newspapers. And as advice, you are advised to spend 20 minutes in each passage. Yes. However, because of some difficulties, some language, learners levels, so some of them might spend less, some others might spend more. However, it's better to stick to 20 minutes. And in this time, there is no extra time given to copy answers. So make sure that you copy the answers in the answer booklet instantly. Spelling is important here. If you just misspell a letter, of course, they will consider it, the markers will consider it as a wrong answer. So be careful with the spelling. What are the questions types in the reading sections? So here we have a list of questions. They include true, false, not given, or yes, no, not given. So they are similar. Short answers, multiple choice, paragraph headings. So this one, paragraph headings, is there is a list of headings because in English articles has what different paragraphs. So each paragraph has a certain idea, and there is a list of headings. You need to match them. And then summary completion. There are some gaps you need to complete this summary using a word or two words, etc. A list, notes or table or chart completion, matching, and summary completion with a box. This is the summary completion with a box. I mean, this is easier than the summary completion. Why is this? Because the words are there. So in the summary completion, there is a summary and a box. That box has words. There are some words you need to use them in order to complete the gaps. So this is easier than not giving the words. And in this case, with the summary completion, you need to make use of the grammar clues. What is missing there? Is it a noun? Is it a verb, adjective, or it is a name of someone, a place, etc.? So you need to make use of the grammatical clues. Here we have a model. So in IELTS exam, you will see a passage like this. Yes, so this is passage number 1. And of course, this is not the whole one. I just took only part of the passage. So you need to spend 20 minutes, read questions 1 to 13, and answer the question. So if you see a text like this, what would you do? You need to do so many things. First of all is look at the title. So the title is about a person, William Henry Birkin. So this is a person, and this is one clue that we make use of. And look at the subheadings here. Yes, a man who invented some things here. So he is an inventor. This is the second clue. Next, you need to read the paragraphs, but you should not read the whole text. Don't read the whole text. You are not requested to, to understand everything in this text. So what should you do? You just need to look at the first sentence in each paragraph. So read the topic sentence of each paragraph. What do we have here? So usually we have introduction first. So introduction, there is something about the place where he was born, maybe his place of living, etc. So this is usually in paragraph 1, in the introduction. And then you need to continue reading the only topic sentences of the other paragraph. So don't read the whole paragraph, just read the topic sentence. So if you look at the second body paragraph here, as a student of the City of London School. So here we can understand that this paragraph is about this person when he was a student. And the third body paragraph here, at the time of Birkin's enrollment, the Royal College of Chemistry was headed by, so here talking about the time he was enrolled in the College of Chemistry. So we write down some information in the margin. So what you need to do is just to skim, read the topic sentences, and write the main idea in the margin. So you can write the main idea here about his date of birth, place of living, students at school, students at college, and here something about quinine or vaccine, malaria. So write down some information in the margin, just keywords only to remind you when you go to the questions. And you need also to underline or circle the keywords such as names of people, places, dates, types of something, etc. So when you look at the text, maybe you need to underline his date of birth, name of school here. Here we have a name of someone, a teacher, Thomas Hall. Here we have a name of scientist, Michael Faraday, etc. Here, German chemist, August William. So these are names. You need to circle them or you need to highlight them, underline them. Yes, because later when you move to the questions, you might find some questions, then you will easily be able to locate these questions. So here we have some questions from the same passage. Here we have true, false, not given. First of all, you need to understand what is the meaning of true here. So true means the statement is mentioned there. Yes, it is correct. And false, the statement is opposite. The statement mentioned, but the opposite one is mentioned. Yes, so the statement is opposite to what is written in the passage. And not given, there is nothing mentioned about that. Yes, I couldn't find anything about this, so that is not given. So I will do this one. Let's see number one. We have true, false. Michael Faraday was the first person to recognize Berkin's ability as a student of chemistry. So here we need to underline the keywords. This person, and then Berkin's ability, students, and chemistry. Now we need to go back to the text and see where we can find Michael Faraday. So is it possible now to involve the audience?
It is, Mr. Khalid, feel free.
Yeah, so now who can tell us, I mean, where do we find the name of this person? Can you see, or I should enlarge?
It's clear to them, I believe. But yes, are we getting an answer from Mr. Saleh?
Yes, right.
Go ahead,
Yes,
Mr. Saleh.
I think it's in the third paragraph.
So it is in the third paragraph. Let's see. So the third paragraph. You mean this one, yes? Saleh.
If you meant the details, it's very difficult unless the participant has, his mobile and he can enlarge the page.
Yeah, okay. Fine. So it is here actually. If we skim the second paragraph, when I discussed that earlier, I said here we have a person like here, Michael Faraday. Yes, so we can find this in the second body paragraph. In the second paragraph. So in this case, we need to go back to the statement. It says Michael Faraday was the first person to recognize Berkin's ability as a student of chemistry. So we need now to go and read again in details. Is he the first person or not? So go back to the text and read. Can you do that and decide whether it's true or false or not given? So what do you think here?
Yes, I think it's false because his teacher, Thomas Hall, was the first.
Yes, correct. Thank you very much, Saleh. I think you are Saleh, my student, right?
Right.
Yeah, thank you, Saleh. Okay, so this is the answer is false because what? Because as you can see here, we have his talent and devotion to the subject were perceived by his teacher, Thomas Hall. So it was not, recognized. He used synonym here, perceived, and in the question he used recognized. Yes. So the answer is false. Why? Because it is recognized by his teacher. So the answer is false. So you need to do the same with other statements. Underline the keywords, go back to the text, try to locate the answer, then read in details and discover whether it's true or false or not given. If there is nothing about that, so the answer will be not given. And of course, when you practice this, you will perform better. So now I will move on because of the time. Here we have some more tips to answer the reading questions. As I said before, you need to look at the grammatical clues, the keywords around the gaps. This is especially if you have gaps, like summaries to complete. And don't spend too much time on a certain questions. You might see that in some questions you keep looking, but the answer is not there. You cannot find it. So don't waste time. Move to the next one. The next one might be easier. And then if there is extra time, just go back and check the answer of the difficult question. And in some cases, any question about suggestions, recommendations, future, this is usually found where? In conclusions. So the conclusions usually have these kinds of questions, like recommendations or suggestions. So you need to make use of that. And if you have a list of topics, if there is something about future or recommendation, so that topic will fit to the last paragraph. And if you are asked to match a list, read the first two sentences to decide the right headings. And the headings and the topic sentence usually have synonyms. They will play with the language using the different structures and different words. So any synonym in the headings, any synonym in the topic sentence, so they match each other. So that is the answer. So these are some of the tips to answer reading questions. And the third section is writing. In writing, there are two tasks, task 1 and task 2. In task 1, there is a graph or a chart, sometimes a map or a process, and the candidate is asked to change this into a report. And this report should consist of at least 150 words. Yes, just describe only what is in the chart or what is in the process. You are not asked to write about your opinion of something. So don't include your opinion. And this part is, candidates are advised to spend only 20 minutes in this tasks. And I prefer, actually, for myself, I prefer to start with the second one because it is worth more marks. And it is advised to spend 40 minutes in the essay. Meanwhile, this one only 20 minutes, and you are asked to write only 150 words. So you can start with either one. They don't force the candidates to start with a specific one. However, the main thing is you have to complete writing 150 words for task 1 and 250 words for the second task. Here we have an example. So task 1 usually has a chart. Here, as you can see, there is a bar chart here. There are some information in the question you need to write about. They say summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Here there are some clues in the questions. First of all, this information. The chart below shows the total number of minutes in billions of telephone calls in UK divided into 3 categories. So this is a clue. It helps you to answer. It describes some things here. What is being described here? The use of, yes, or the number of minutes of telephone calls in 3 categories from 1995. So first of all, this is the introduction. You need to take it as introduction and write it in the topic sentence. In the first sentence, you need to introduce what the chart shows. So here you can say that the bar chart demonstrates what? You need to paraphrase this. The total number of minutes. You can say the number of time or the amount of time spent by British people in calls or in 3 calls, yes, for 5 years or for 8 years. So my idea here is when you write the introduction or the introductory sentence, you need to paraphrase. You need to use the words that are written in the information here. So don't copy them the same. If you copy, they will, the examiners, the one who mark your essay, will say that you are not able to paraphrase. You are not able to show what does this or what this bar chart represents. So you need to paraphrase and write this into the first sentence, the topic sentence. And what comes next is description. So you need to summarize the main features. There are 3 features: local calls, national and international, and then mobile calls. So you need to summarize. So this one, the dark one, is the mobiles. What can you see here? We can see that there is an increase. So you write about this in 1 paragraph. And then the second one about national and international calls. What do you see here? There is increase, but in some years, the increase is what? Is not rapid. So it's only steady increase. You need to show this. And the third one is this one. So this has a different, feature. So we can see that the first one, there was an increase, but there was next one, a fall. You need also to write this in a separate paragraph using different years.